Welcome, my Exorcist army, and my latest sub, Ken B3. It's time for...
Thank you, Liliana. What's up, Magic Gods? I'm Mono. That is Jay Thallid over there. Always at the forefront here at Mad Magic, at the Vanguard. The Vanguard of Magic the Gathering, a completely forgotten thing, except for you real Legacy players, and the godfather of Commander. Thallid, you were even reminding me about this the other day, and I was like, that's right. And we pulled a couple out from our collection. Explain to everybody, what the hell is Magic the Gathering Vanguard?
Well, I'll tell you this. Probably 99% of Magic the Gathering players have never heard of Vanguard. Magic the Gathering Vanguard actually preceded Friday Night Magic. It was a way for Wizards of the Coast to promote the Gathering and the Magic the Gathering. And everyone paid to play, and when you paid to play, everybody received a collage of one copy of each basic land. They were the arena lands, and it was called Arena. Much like the video game today. And you would play in store, and at the end of playing, you were based upon how you placed, you were assigned a prize. Now, what was unique about the format you were playing is you were using a card that was very similar to the emblem of a planeswalker in the fact that it cannot be removed, targeted. It just had an effect on your board state. It had an effect on your starting hand size, and it had an effect on your starting life total, and then there was some dialogue in a text box. These characters were all based in the Tempest Block Wrath cycle. So you have characters like Vanguard, Miri, Gerard, all Squee, all those kinds of characters, and there's some
Urza, Mishra. Yeah, if I can get clear, there were 32 oversized cards, like 3x5, 3.5x5s or something, that in essence were like a commander card. Today, they've actually errated, if you still want to play Vanguard, to use the terminology command zone. And basically, right, like you said, it was an emblem. This was a card that you would pre-pick, depending on how you were doing it, you would have, and it would give you a bonus or deficiency for the whole rest of the game that simply couldn't be removed, just like an emblem. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, and then you basically had a card that was essentially your commander, except it was always active, always in play, and always had an effect that you could activate. Or like, for instance, Gerard, his ability was draw an additional card during your draw phase. So no matter what your opponent did, you always drew an additional card during your draw phase. But there was a drawback to your hand size, your maximum hand size, and there was an effect on your life total as well. And there was, I believe, 32 of these cards, and it's kind of like Commander before Commander blew up, because this card was always in play, and you designed your deck based around the benefits that the Vanguard card offered.
Let's take a look at this. Now, one of the things, and we were kind of rereading these 30-year-old rules, because this was somewhere in like 94, 95, and your hand size would be adjusted as your starting hand size. I saw a couple comments that basically said, like, that is the max your hand could ever get to, or you always had to discard down to that. But then other rules seem to make it clear that your starting hand size was adjusted based off of what your Vanguard choice was. So Card Kingdom again, still love you. We're still worried about you. So, like, as an example, and look, not all these are a ton of money, right? 34 cents. But some of them are worth a lot. But, like, so as an example, you would pick Tagngarth. Your creatures are unaffected by summoning sickness. But down here, your max hand size would start by 1, right? Or less by 1. So you would only draw 6. But your life total would go up by 7. And that's basically how this would work, is that there were 3 effects to each that each Vanguard commander would have, right? However, the rest of the deck you could build as 60 cards, wasn't it? 4 of and everything else?
Yeah, it was just like a regular standard Magic deck. It would be what would back in the day it was called Type 2. So you were playing Type 2 with a Vanguard card. And you can see how old some of these cards are, because some of the keywords didn't even exist, like haste. In the
Vigilance
card you showed, all your creatures
Hexproof
are unaffected by summoning sickness. Today that would say all your creatures have haste. You know.
Yeah, Urtai here, right? Your creatures can't be the target of opponents' spells or abilities. You know, hexproof, right? But again,
Right.
-1 card plus 4 life.
And yeah, and some of these, it's really cool. I believe it's a really cool way to play Magic, and I think, like, considering the 30,000 plus sized card pool of Magic cards that are available today, there are so many different things that you could do with these Vanguard cards, and I think could be a really cool, fun way to play Magic. I think it could be maybe not the next commander, but it could be something that you could definitely sit around and play with your friends, you know?
I look at Vanguard as an exercise in how quickly people could now break decks. So when we were doing this, right, we were still using things like Swords to Plowshares, and we did have Force of Will. And in my opinion, there were still plenty of broken cards that existed back then in the way it was now. But if you look at like Sisay, you got a not mana bloom. What do you call it? All your lands tap for an additional mana. What was the red card, right? Mana what? Oh, God.
Mana Flare?
Mana Flare. Yeah, she's got a built-in Mana Flare.
A one-sided Mana Flare.
Yeah, one-sided Mana Flare that you get, you know? And so each one of these, you say, oh my gosh, it's so broken. But in like every one of these cards, see, there's something else. To your point, here's Gerard, right? During your draw.
One-sided Howling Mine.
Yeah, it's just there and you can't get rid of it. I mean, this is what everybody was using for a long time. Do you recall how long Vanguard was in play for?
I don't remember the exact length of the season, but I do remember that based upon the store you played at, it was a meeting that was once per week, and your wins, losses, and your overall place was totaled up at the end of the season. And I think it was about 3 months. And then the store issued prizes based upon how you placed in the event. I do know that I believe Disenchant, there was an alternate art Disenchant that was one of the prizes. That was an actual regular sized card. And then there was some oversized cards that were offered as prizes in the original arena format.
I think that was that Disenchant that showed like the artifact exploding in front of the guy. That was a real sought after card back then. Pull it up here. I think it's maybe only worth about $15 today, because I think they actually redid that artwork on future Disenchants. Like they literally reprinted that artwork, and I remember always thinking like that was pretty lame that they would do that. But these are all also like great old lore creatures or characters.
Yeah, these are all
Magic the Gathering.
Some of these characters are still in the game, and
yeah,
and all these characters like from the Wrath cycle, like Tempest, and Weatherlight, those sets, they're really cool characters, man. And it's like this is when the lore in Magic was like really cool, or at least in my eyes, it's really cool. I think you just passed up Karn. You see Baron. These are characters that are still alive and well today. I mean, there's an Urza, there's a Thanos. These guys have been around since antiquities. It's pretty cool stuff, man.
And each one comes with its own totally and completely and utterly broken ability. And
so like if you look at like we were talking earlier, we were talking about Squee. You start off with a free ancestral recall. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't remember what his other ability was, but it's just
your opponent plays with his hands, cards
oh yeah,
face
yeah.
up.
Your opponent plays with his hand revealed. You start with 10 cards, and your starting life total is 16. I mean, that's pretty broke, you know. But
In the hands of the right Magic player, knowing what your opponent has at all times. Now you would start with -4 life, so you start with 16. Some of these guys have like +10 or +15 life, which when you're starting with the 20 life normal, and then you've got your regular 60 card deck, you know, like a 10 or 15 extra starting life, like burn decks and rush decks and stuff, like they're all done, right? You know, like that's how a lot of that strategy went if you had that extra life to start with. But yeah, all these abilities, and some of them got really expensive. Plenty of them are very playable, like are fine. Like there's several $20 cards, you know, and you saw the $1 and $2 cards. So this isn't like something that's only for like the, you know, the richer sort of thing. But Titania, you know, was $150, and what was, you know, it was, you can play an additional land in each of your turns, you know. Well, another one, a cheap card allows you to have a Mana Flare, but of course, with Titania, you can play any land, right? And so you want to be looking for things. You got landfalls and domains and plus special lands and stuff like that. And then she got two extra cards.
I just noticed your tab that you had open, and all I can think about is foot stuff.
For the first time, ladies and gentlemen, Thallid is now acknowledging my browser tab that I do in every single one of our videos, that I try to humiliate him as best I possibly can every single time. And I'm running out of ideas. If you know of any cool things that I should be searching for with Thallid's name in front, do please leave it in the comments. I will be sure to put that in one of our upcoming videos here. And then this one, I just picked up one of these today. It was my favorite. So they had like a Sliver Queen, right? The very first like commander. And the Broodmother kind of worked as the original one. Let's talk finances for a second on these. Do you think that what would have to happen to see Vanguard cards really spike?
Well, I don't think it's like out of the realm of possibility for like a fan created format, or like not a fan created format, but for fans to rediscover a format and identify with it as well as they have with Commander or Old School or the middle school format, and say like, hey, we really like Vanguard. And in that instance, these cards are pretty rare. They're not very common. The reason they're not very sought after. So you've got a card that's not very sought after that's $90 right now. So if Vanguard ever became a thing, like I think all these cards are certainly better than like buying a lottery ticket. And a lot of these cards are like $2 and they're good.
I wonder what the complete print one was. You know, like I wonder how many actually could be in existence of these. We'd have to look up. I've kind of looked around a little bit because they were sort of like printed as needed for the sake of like the Magic Friday night or Thursday night Magic, weren't they, like for Arena?
These are not regular size cards. They're oversized cards. Keep that in mind. Keep in mind the fact that most people didn't keep these cards. Keep in mind the fact that there isn't a great way to store these cards and keep them in mint condition as well. So if you can acquire some of these in mint condition, there's not 9-page pocket binders that fit these cards, and there definitely wasn't back then. And these are probably about 2x the size, or maybe 2.5 size of 2.5x the size of a regular Magic card. So yeah, there's probably very few near mint copies of these cards that exist.
Remember at the time, like getting one of these, I don't think I have my original one, you know, and I played in, you know, in the arena and kind of getting like, you know, what am I going to do with this? Or, oh, this is weird. And I came off of having collected comic books a lot when I was a kid. So I should have known better, you know, that when you kind of get these sort of special things, like when I got the arena actual card out of like one of the Magic the Gathering books that I knew was going to be something really cool. And then, of course, you know, they went ahead and reprinted that card into the dirt. What I should have done was just got that book and, well, actually, I think you got the books and you had to chop something out and send away for the cards. They weren't in the books.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a friend yesterday about this. The way he started playing Magic is he read that book that you're holding in your hand, Magic Arena. He thought it sounded cool, and he's seen that it was a card game, and he cut out a coupon in the back, and he sent it in, and he got a free card, or he got the card that they sent back, and he was like, "Wow, this looks really cool." And he's 30 years later, he's still interested in Magic.
Right. So in this book, which I bought on eBay, you see how that page is chopped out because that was where you had the free unique card. You know, of course, somebody sent it in. And this story is actually really amazing. And I think if Hasbro, which was supposed to be with E1, making a lot of Magic the Gathering shows, they should make this story. It's simple as that. This would be the best intro story for any audience who didn't know much about Magic to learn about the game. It was really cool. It's about a guy who was came into a town with a bunch of dueling Magic schools, and then sneaks his way into like a big Magic tournament. It's like gladiator shit, you know, but playing with Magic cards. It was super neat. Hey, Liliana, on our way out, please tell us if you were a Vanguard card, what would your card be?
Well, plus 10 hand size, plus 100 life. Tap 2, I epically cuck. Mono and Thallid.